Hello, this is Sonara.
Hello, this is Vivian.
And we're reading the County Press for today, Friday, the 27th of April 2018. And first, we're starting off with society news. On Tuesday, there will be a coffee morning held in support of the Society on Tuesday, 1st of May at the Post Office in Knighton. All are welcome from 10:30 a.m. till 12 o'clock noon. The Ryde Swimming Group will be swimming this coming Tuesday, 1st of May, at the Waterside Pool in Ryde. The swimming group has sole use of the pool during the session, and there are lifeguards in attendance. If you are interested in joining the group, please contact the Society to advise us of your swimming ability and for us to advise the Waterside Pool. Wednesday. The weekly coffee morning will be held at Millbrook House this Wednesday, 2nd of May. The coffee mornings are not just for blind and partially sighted people. Anybody can come along and have a cup of coffee or tea, as well as a piece of cake. The Society Coffee Morning will be joined by the Macular Degeneration Group for their monthly meeting. We will also be holding the new low vision drop-in between 10 a.m. and 12 noon on Wednesday, 2nd of May. This is a weekly event to allow you to view and try the low vision equipment we have at the Society without the need for an appointment. On Thursday, the Thursday Social Group are meeting on Thursday, the 3rd of May at Millbrook House. The group meets from 10:30 a.m. till 2 p.m. You can have a chat and knit if you wish. Then later in the afternoon, volunteers come in and read to the group from different topics. Our Low Vision Open Day will be taking place on Thursday, the 3rd of May at Millbrook House from 2:30 p.m. till 6:30 p.m. We will be joined by Enhanced Vision and Orcam, who will be demonstrating the latest equipment, as well as an Age UK digital expert, who will be on hand to answer questions and assist with assistive technology, phones, tablets, etc. Our low vision resources will also be on display. Parking and refreshments will be available. And Friday, there will be a quiz on Friday the 4th of May at New Close Cricket Ground, Blackwater Road, Newport, in A. Site for Wight. The doors open at 7 p.m. with the quiz starting at 7:30 p.m. There will be prizes for the winning team, a raffle and a lucky dip. The bar will be open for refreshments. The price is £2 per person in teams of 4. Registration is required in advance by calling 527-957. Leave a message if there's no answer, or email Tracy71Pete57 at hotmail.co.uk. I'd better spell Tracy. It's Tracy, followed by 71, the numbers, and then PETE 57 at hotmail.co.uk.
Any other news? Murder Behind the Scenes was a great success on Thursday the 19th of April, hosted by our patrons Bob and Carol Bridgestock. £355 was raised on the night. You can listen to Miriam Tong, CEO, being interviewed by Maggie Curry from Vectors Radio later in the Talking News. On Tuesday the 24th of April, Michelle Taylor, Volunteer Manager, and Chris Kane, Marketing, Communication and Fundraising Manager, were interviewed by Maggie and Kelvin Curry from Vectors Radio. You can listen to the interview later in the Talking News. Do you enjoy the activities and facilities provided by Sight for Wight? Perhaps you've recently attended an activity or event and would like to wax lyrical about it. If so, then Chris Kane would like to hear from you. As part of our promoting well-being and supporting services and activities, we would like to hear your positive feedback, which will be part of a video promoting Sight for Wight. If you have a story you would like to enthuse about and don't mind being recorded on video, then please contact Chris Kane on 522205 or email admin@iwsb.org.uk. The next golf session will be taking place on Sunday the 29th of April at 10 a.m. on the driving range at Westridge Golf Centre in Ryde. Anyone interested can just turn up on the day for 1 hour of golf with an instructor for the group, followed by a cup of tea and a chat afterwards in the cafe. The cost is £3 per person. Local volunteers from the Guide Dogs charity will be visiting a number of venues over the next few months, talking about the work of the charity and how you can be involved. They will be at Sandown Library on the 23rd of June, Ryde Library on the 21st of July, and Ventnor Library on the 18th of August. All the library venue times will be 10:30 a.m. till 2:30 p.m. You can also find them at Riverfest on Newport Quay on the 19th of May, 11 a.m. till 3 p.m, and the Isle of Wight Community Club Open Day at Park Road in Cowes on August the 27th from 12 noon onwards.
And on to the scaffolding news. We have a list of known footway obstructions for works including scaffolding or hoarding. We are unable to include end dates, as many are extended on a week-by-week basis, but also included are tables and chairs permits that have been issued in the past week. In the Bay and Ventnor area, there is currently scaffolding at the Carnival Shop, 79 High Street, Sandown, Wight City, Culver Parade, Sandown, Premier Inn, 1-9 Esplanade, Sandown, 3 Downsview, Sandown, 64 High Street, Shanklin, All Seasons, 6 Regent Street, Shanklin, Shanklin Rock Shop, 91-93 High Street, Shanklin, corner of Trinity Road and Madeira Road, Ventnor, 1 Boniface Road and into Trinity Road, Ventnor, 52 High Street, Ventnor, 31 Pier Street, Ventnor, 1 Boniface Road, Ventnor, also in Trinity Road, 8 Victoria Street, Ventnor, 5A Spring Hill, Ventnor. New scaffolding is due up at Chubby's, 1 Regent Street, Shanklin, from the 9th of May. There are currently skips at 18 Station Avenue, Sandown, 33 Blythe Way, Shanklin, 78 White Cross Avenue, Shanklin. New skips are due at 6 Esplanade, Shanklin, from 8th of May. There are currently hoardings at Wight City, Culver Parade, Sandown, and Premier Inn, 1-9 The Esplanade, Sandown.
Cowes area. There is currently scaffolding at Royal London Yacht Club, The Parade, Cowes, 35 Alfred Street, East Cowes. New scaffolding is due up at Totty's Fish and Chips, High Street, Cowes, from the 26th of March. We are awaiting new dates. Sainsbury's, 129 to 130 High Street, Cowes, from the 29th of May. There are currently skips at 58 Hefford Road, East Cowes, 22 St David's Road, East Cowes. There are currently hoardings at 93 High Street Cows. Newport area. There is currently scaffolding at Brystone Viaduct, Military Road, Brystone. 38 Key Street, Newport.
I'll continue with that. 18 Ludley Street, Newport. Ulverstone Mews, Pyle Street, Newport. The Waverley, 2 Clatford Road in Newport. Stotesbury's Fish and Chips, 43 St James's Street, Newport. Domino's, St James's Street, Newport. And new scaffolding is due up at 7 St Thomas Square, Newport, on the 9th of May. There are currently skips at 1 Park Close, Newport, Turning Area, Chapel Close, Newport, and a cherry picker is due at Body Shop, 52 High Street, Newport, from the 10th of May.
Ride area. There is currently scaffolding at Rectory Mansion, 1 Key Lane, Brading. 40 Union Street, Ryde. 78 George Street, Ryde. Ada, 55 Union Street, Ryde. Clinton Cards, High Street, Ryde. New scaffolding is due up at the Colonnade, Lynn Street, Ryde, from the 8th of May. Wight's Fish and Chips, 41 to 42 High Street, Ryde, from the 9th of May. There are currently skips at St James's Church, Lynn Street, Ryde, bottom of Pier Road, Seaview, Sandcove, Pier Road, Seaview, Rockcliffe, Circular Road, Seaview. New skips are due at 4 South Street, Ryde, from the 7th of May. 2 Cornwall Street, Ryde, 24th of May. Mountain Warehouse, 167 High Street, Ryde, dates to be confirmed. A cherry picker is due at the Codfather, 2 George Street, Ryde, from the 11th of May.
In the West Wight area, there is currently scaffolding at Everson's Funeral Directors, Broadway, Totland, the Memorial Hall, Avenue Road, Freshwater, Patch Computer Shop, 139 School Green Road, Freshwater, south side of Town Hall, Market Square, Yarmouth, On the Rocks, Bridge Road, Yarmouth. New scaffolding is due up at Holdings and Old Post Office, Key Street, Yarmouth, from the 4th of June. And there are currently skips at 4 Queen's Terrace, Queen's Road, Freshwater.
This week's In Touch. In Touch, in this week's episode, blind carers, where to get help when you lose your sight. Tom Walker visits Jean McKeegan, who is a carer for her elderly father, and wonders if there are any other blind carers who would share their experiences with her. Columnist Dave Williams on interacting as a blind man with a sighted world, and in her last edition as programme producer, Cheryl Gabriel shares her useful contacts with listener Jane Moore, who has recently been diagnosed with macular degeneration. The producer is Cheryl Gabriel, presenter is Peter Wight.
And now for the county press. And the headlines are, first, another fine mess, and second, studio school to close. That's a question. So, another fine mess. Long queues and traffic chaos at Lynn Bottom Tip. Island residents have slammed shorter summer opening hours at Lynn Bottom Tip, which led to long queues and traffic chaos this week. To save money, the Isle of Wight Council slashed summer opening times by 35 hours a week. The tip is open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m, whereas last summer it was open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Now cars have been queuing for the tip to open, causing long tailbacks. Following complaints, the council responded by closing off the slip road into the site to prevent cars waiting. However, visitors to the County Press website branded the move as ridiculous. Currently, a trip to Linbottom Tip can involve 2 hours of queuing. Residents have complained. One visitor to the island said they had queued for so long from Ireton, they ended up taking their rubbish back to London with them. Another holidaymaker, Dave Johnson, said lengthy queues forced his family to cancel their trip to Robin Hill. He said the traffic in the area forced us to turn round, as did many others. How ridiculous is it that a public amenity is causing so much chaos to those not using the tip? Residents said the opening hours were increasingly inconvenient for people who worked during the week. Graham Stone said the shorter opening times are super inconvenient unless you're retired or want to spend your weekends queuing with dozens of other cars, especially in the spring and summer months. I fear it will dissuade people from recycling. Other residents have complained of the long traffic delays caused by queues stretching beyond the roundabout, blocking the road. One said, I very nearly missed a ferry on Tuesday lunchtime because it took nearly a quarter of an hour to get past the queues. Now the slip road at the tip will be closed until the site opens at 10 a.m. to prevent residents queuing outside the centre. Traffic wardens were on patrol this week. The Isle of Wight Council said the closure of the slip road would prevent disruption to traffic on Bridlesford Road. Council leader, Councillor Dave Stewart, said, My advice is to plan your arrival for after the tip opens. Data shows the congestion eases after 11:30 a.m. and is generally lightest after 3 p.m. Councillor Stewart added, a change in behaviour was needed for residents to adjust to the new shorter opening times, although the council may consider an earlier opening time if the situation did not improve by the end of next month. Councillor Stewart said, we are told some people are sitting in their cars from 8:30 a.m. onwards. Bear in mind it opens at 10 a.m. with their flasks and sandwiches to be first into the tip. He said a perfect storm of roadworks and nice weather had increased pressure on the shorter opening hours. The council is considering installing a webcam so that residents can check congestion levels before they visit. Councillor Stewart said, we don't want people sitting there for hours, and we don't want people missing ferries. We want to find a sustainable approach within the budget framework. However, I'm not convinced changing to 8 a.m. is necessary, because you'll have people turning up at 7 a.m.
Studio School to close. The Isle of Wight Studio School is set to close next year due to a lack of demand. Bosses said the school, which opened 4 years ago at Grange Road, East Cowes, was not financially viable. The school for 14 to 19-year-olds, run by the Inspire Academy Trust, was aimed at increasing local employment. In addition to academic subjects, students were offered vocational qualifications and work placements within island employers. However, the idea has failed to find favour with families, and the school is currently running at around 40% capacity, with 49 students in Year 10 and 71 in Year 11. The closure has been approved in principle by the Department for Education, subject to a 4-week listening period to consult with the interested parties. Providing the DFE agrees, the school will close in August 2019, enabling current Year 10 students to complete their studies. Richard Bryant of Inspire Richard Bryant of Inspire Academy Trust said the Isle of Wight Studio School has provided an excellent learning experience for many children. However, unfortunately, the school has not been able to recruit sufficient students to its sixth form, and it is a sad reality such a small school cannot continue long term. Student recruitment is a problem which has affected many studio schools across the country. Students who had hoped to join the school this year will have to contact the Isle of Wight Council to apply for a place at another school. Bosses had considered increasing the age range of the school, but there were already too many Year 9 places on the island and insufficient demand for a sixth form. Head teacher Richard Wight said, "Despite the efforts of its governing body and dedicated staff, who have all done an excellent job, the school's sixth form has never been fully utilised. This is because our students have progressed at 16 to further study or apprenticeships elsewhere. And our view has always been to support the decision which is in the best interests of our pupils. Parents of prospective students have said they are devastated, with one East Cowes parent saying they are now looking at schools on the mainland. Another parent from Chale said she was willing to pay for her 14-year-old son to attend the school. She said, "He is borderline autistic and has had a really rough couple of years. We chose the school because they look after the children so differently. It's a whole different way of learning." Local councillor Carl Love has encouraged parents to write to the Department for Education, and a petition has been started by a resident.
Protect marine industry, says MP. Shipbuilding on the island should be protected, Isle of Wight MP Bob Seeley has said. Mr Seeley, who visited regeneration sites along the Medina River, said jobs should take priority over building more houses. He joined Cowes Harbour Commission Chief Executive Captain Stuart McIntosh, Chairman David Riley, and Wight Shipyard owner Peter Morton to look at East Cowes waterfront, Kingston Marine Park and Medina Yard. It's absolutely vital we protect shipbuilding on the island. We need a jobs agenda, not a house building agenda. Frankly, I'm much more concerned about ensuring our shipbuilders have premises for their businesses, said Mr Seeley. There are some big question marks over the viability of some of these developments. I will be discussing the importance of jobs in shipbuilding with council officers and councillors. I want to make sure we are supporting the right projects.
Care home told to improve. An island care home has been placed in special measures due to widespread and systematic failings and has 6 months to improve or face being shut down. Solent View Care Home in Victoria Road, East Cowes, was inspected at the end of February and rated inadequate by the Care Quality Commission, which found 8 breaches of the Health and Social Care Act. The inspection was prompted by safeguarding concerns from the local authority. Inspectors found staff who administered medicines were not always trained, and people did not always receive their medication as prescribed. In some instances, medication was left in the open where it could be accessed by anyone, including residents with dementia. Areas of the home were found to be dirty, including the sluice room and a bathroom, which had overflowing bins and a thick layer of grime on the chair for the bath hoist. Inspectors noted outside the sluice room was an open bag of potatoes and an open net of onions, posing a further risk of cross-infection. The laundry room was based in a shed in the garden, and the sink was stained black with mould, with loose dirt in the bottom. The report also said some staff showed a lack of consideration for people's dignity. For example, in the way they cared for their clothes and stored continence aids in their rooms. Although staff demonstrated a good understanding of people's individual needs, the records of care they provided did not confirm the needs of 4 bedbound residents had been met. Inspectors said, "We received mixed views from people about the manner and attitude of the staff. Some staff used inappropriate language when talking about people, although other staff interacted positively with people. Staff supported people at the end of their lives to have a comfortable, dignified and pain-free death. However, most had not received end-of-life training, and people's care plans lacked information about their end-of-life wishes. People had mixed views about the food, with some praising the choice and quality. However, inspectors said staff were unable to confirm the dietary needs of one person living with dementia were being met. Despite the concerns raised, inspectors said residents felt safe at the home. One person told them, "I feel very safe and very secure. I get treated really well." The home was previously deemed to be inadequate following an inspection in 2015, when it was placed into special measures. At the following inspection in 2016, it was deemed improvements had been made and the service was taken out of special measures. However, inspectors said this improvement had not been sustained. Solent View Care Home declined to comment.
Couple caught having sex in library. 8 security cameras have been installed in the Lord Louis Library after a couple were caught having sex among the stacks. Security at the Newport Library has been increased due to occasional instances of inappropriate behaviour, the Isle of Wight Council confirmed in a statement. Installing the cameras cost just under £3,000, which the authorities said was funded by a donation from a member of the public. A council spokesperson said, "We have installed 8 new cameras in Lord Louis Library to help improve security. We've had occasional instances of inappropriate behaviour, and we hope this will act as an effective deterrent." Library user Neil McDougall from Newport said, "It's unfortunate people do not act in a way that ensures cameras are not required."
GKN board quits after takeover. GKN's board of directors has resigned following the hostile takeover of the business by investment company Melrose. Melrose bought the company for $8.1 billion at the end of March. GKN's board fought against the takeover, rejecting the bid, leaving Melrose to go directly to shareholders. Unions have raised fears for jobs on the island.
No confidence in Commissioner. Police officers have passed an almost unanimous vote of no confidence in Hampshire and Isle of Wight Police and Crime Commissioner, PCC, Michael Lane, after it was announced he would not be investing more funding in frontline policing. 98% of the 1,608 Hampshire and Isle of Wight officers who responded to the vote put forward by Hampshire Police Federation Chair John Apter agreed they had no confidence in Mr. Lane. However, the result is not binding and will not force the PCC out of office. Mr. Lane said, "I take the views of all police officers extremely seriously, and I will continue to work to build confidence and trust. I've done all I can and continue to do all I can within budget to ensure that victims are supported, vulnerable people are protected, and the Chief Constable is empowered to ensure policing is as effective and efficient as possible. I continue to invest more than 98% of my total budget in policing." During a meeting in Winchester, where Mr. Lane was quizzed by the Hampshire Police and Crime Panel, he said a £12 precept increase had saved 150 policing posts this year. However, it was also revealed that 122 posts were lost before the budget was set. The panel has previously criticised Mr Lane's plans to spend money on increasing his office budget rather than frontline policing. Panel member Councillor Ian Richards asked why no new officers were joining the force, while Surrey Police planned to recruit 200 more people. Mr Lane said, "Some of my colleagues have decided to use a different risk profile while looking into their force's future. My firm view is that we should be erring on what is safe. We do not know what next year's budget will be."
All police officers can ask for tasers. All Isle of Wight police officers could be armed with tasers. Tasers will be given to all officers who request them, providing there is a clear operational need and they have completed the required training. Hampshire Constabulary has spent £800,000 on the scheme, cash which was taken from reserves. It follows requests from frontline officers and the Chief Constable and is aimed at improving operational effectiveness. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Police has also spent £9,000 on spit hoods, £1.6 million on mobile technology for response officers, and £800,000 on increasing the number of armed officers. The spending figures were outlined by Police and Crime Commissioner Michael Lane at the last meeting of the Hampshire and Police Crime Panel. A spokesman from Hampshire Constabulary said, "The Chief Constable has said every officer he wants has a clear operational need and has passed the training required to be able to carry a taser should get one."
Woman saved from house blaze. A Bembridge mother has hailed her son a hero after he kept a cool head and evacuated his grandmother and their dogs from their burning house after lightning struck last Saturday. Fire tore through the house in Egerton Road, Bembridge, after a bolt of lightning struck, blowing a hole in the wall. Chris Reed, 29, a golf professional at Westridge Golf Centre, was in the family home when the lightning hit. His parents were out visiting friends. "I heard this massive bang. The whole house shook and all the lights went out and light bulbs exploded," Chris said. "I could smell the smoke, and when I went into my room, my TV had been shot across the room and flames were going up. I realised there was no chance of putting the fire out, and I ran downstairs to help my nan out of the house. It was difficult because everywhere was dark, and my nan uses a walking frame." Chris got his nan and 2 of the dogs out, but the 3rd dog, Woody, was still missing. Chris ran back into the burning building but could not find his dog. The Bembridge community got together to search the neighbourhood for missing Woody, and Chris found him later in the night in a garden in Brooks Close. It took firefighters around 20 minutes to reach their house, and the family stood in the street with neighbours watching the house burn. The fire station in Bembridge could only muster 2 firefighters who could not attend, and in the end, crews came from Sandown and Shanklin. Glenda Reed, Chris's mother, said, "My son is a hero. If he was not there, my mum would not have made it out. We lost all our sentimental things in the loft. My husband and I have known each other since we were 12. We've lost our wedding photos, old love letters, and the boys' first shoes." The family thanked the community for all the support they have received.
Have your says on town's future. The regeneration of Ryde will be discussed at a residents' workshop. Priorities identified by residents include bringing the town's large empty buildings back into use, making the town greener and improving youth provision. The workshop at Rye Castle on Wednesday at 7 p.m. will look at how these priorities can be addressed. Isle of Wight Council Director of Regeneration, Chris Ashman, said, "We're looking at what may be financially viable, but also how the hopes and ambitions of the community might also be achieved. Some people have suggested we intend to sell off public spaces, or we have already decided on a plan for Wight. That is certainly not true. Young people at our youth conference showed some wonderful insight into what could be achieved at Ryde Esplanade, and we will be sharing some of these ideas with residents. Ryde Esplanade is one of 5 sites earmarked for regeneration.
Tears shed over home's future. Veterans have been given notice that their care home, St Vincent's, is no longer viable and likely to close. The home in Binstead Road, Ryde, is Armed Forces charity SSAFA's only care home in the UK and has 22 residents and 29 staff. Staff said this week they were devastating and tears had been shed. Residents first heard about it when they received a letter informing them of a 30-day consultation period, but there was no mention of the options available to them in future should the home close. James Dove, 86, known by his middle name of Jeff, was a private in the parachute regiment, but in his old age he lost both legs through ill health and sought the help of SSAFA. He said, "I've lived here since the summer. It's my home now. My wife died 9 years ago, and when this happened to my legs, I couldn't look after myself. There's nothing in the letter they gave us that tells us anything about what might happen to us. I think it's a pretty poor effort." Richard Jansen, whose mother Cecily lives at St Vincent's, said, "The residents look on this home as a place of safety. They have served their country in the past, and we should all be grateful for their efforts and offer them our full support. My mother feels very strongly about how this matter has been handled. She's a Second World War veteran who served in fighter command. She's a strong, independent lady who has never looked for charity or support throughout her life. She has sold her private flat on the Isle of Wight, and St Vincent's was to be her final home." One staff member, who did not want to be named, said, "We have all been devastated and there have been lots of tears. Our first concern was for the residents, and the residents' first concern was for staff, which shows it is quite a special place. Everyone's in shock." A spokesperson for SSAFA said, "SSAFA has launched a consultation concerning the future of St Vincent's Care Home. Having fully analysed our range of support and strengths in a recent review of all our services, we have concluded it may no longer be viable for SSAFA to continue running St Vincent's. We are currently exploring all options to find the best possible solution and are committed to a thorough and proper consultation process which will end on Tuesday, May the 15th. As ever, SSAFA remains focused on each and every individual in all the services we provide and will ensure that residents remain safe and treated with dignity. If the decision is made to close the care home, we will continue to meet people's needs safely and effectively until the last resident has transferred to their new care option." The letter to residents stated that it was likely the home would close, but residents would be informed in person on May the 22nd at a meeting at St Vincent's. The on-site bungalows are not included in the consultation period, and there are no plans currently for them to be included in any upcoming decision.
Royal Honour for Island Firm. An oak presentation box made on the island has been presented to the Queen. Axby and Hurst, a small island business based at New Barn Farm, Calbourne, produce bespoke items, one-of-a-kind homewares and commercial products from local sustainable British timbers. In September, it was approached by the Royal Navy and asked to make presentation boxes for a commemorative batch of gin that had been distilled on board HMS Ocean. It was all the more special as HMS Ocean was to be decommissioned on its return to British shores. Louise Axby Hurst said, "We spent many weeks discussing the requirements of the box size, shape and the design on the front and back. This all had to be done via email as the ship was somewhere in the Bahamas at the time. We made 240 boxes in total, which were all engraved with the design and individually batched numbers on the back. The boxes were designed, made and engraved by myself and my husband Peter, with help from one of our Academy students, Bailey Rushton. Box 1 of Batch 1 was presented to the Queen at the decommissioning ceremony in Portsmouth at the end of March. This is an outstanding achievement for our company. We feel extremely proud to have been asked to make this oak presentation box for the Queen. It was a real honour our small island business was chosen. We have produced work for the Garlic Farm, Island Distillery, Robin Hill, Tapnell Farm and many other island companies. Our products can be seen in the window of Cafe Isola in Newport. We also welcome people to our workshop where we can create a bespoke product to your needs. We also run a training academy offering free work placements and work experience-based learning to young island individuals.
Abandoned roosters rehomed. Abandoned cockerels, which were dumped in Brystone Forest, have been adopted by animal lovers. Around 20 cockerels were left to die near the Lynch Lane entrance to the forest, something locals say has happened once a year for the past 5 years. Wild bird rescuer Kay Ounsworth of Mr. Wally AWOL and friends took the roosters in and battled to find them homes before they were euthanised. 7 birds have been rehomed, 9 have died, 1 is waiting to find a home, and the others are still missing in Brystone Forest. Kay said, "The community has been tremendously supportive, and I would like to say a huge thank you to the county press for helping to get the word out. I've been inundated with support since the appeal was published. WAAG, the welfare organisation, has put out nationwide appeals to find these roosters a home. They have been great. Local residents have been amazing, including Christopher Plant, Maxine Wight, Joyce Brooks, Leah Jenkins and Caroline Wheeler. Thank you all so much."
1.3 million work on school. More than 1.3 million has been secured to refurbish Barton Primary School. The Education and Skills Funding Agency has awarded the cash to the Isle of Wight Council as part of the Priority School Building Programme. Improvements at the Newport School will include a new roof and windows, a new reception area, external cladding and upgraded footpaths and lighting. It will be the second phase of works since Barton moved to the nearby Furlong site 18 months ago.
And that's all from us. So it's goodbye from Sinara.
And goodbye from Vivian.
Good morning, my name's Lester Williams and we're reading from the County Press, Friday, April the 27th.
And I'm Dan, starting with the letters. Let's all get out and do our bit to tidy the beaches, from Alan Wynne in Sunderland. I've been prompted into writing this as I sit and watch BBC News about the ever-growing problem of waste on the beaches. Most weekends my son Kyle, who lives in Cowes, his wife Lucy and children Erin and Milo head for the beach and always take bags with them to pick up rubbish. The kids actually love it and even go out in poor weather. To them it's also a treasure hunt. It makes me so proud they are trying to make an effort to help. Most kids would be sitting on a computer of some sort. And I thought, why can we not get all parents and kids to try this? After all, if you're heading to the beach for a stroll, what does it take to pick up the rubbish and put it in a bag, instead of walking past it and having a bit of a moan about it? Maybe by writing to the county press it may prompt others to do the same. Perhaps it could start a campaign which gets county-wide coverage.
Letter from Terry Hack in Bryston. Syria summed up. May I sincerely praise Labour's Julian Craikley on his quite brilliant appraisal of the Syrian situation. Nowadays his party drips so much malice that I really can't be bothered with them. So when I read his deeply compassionate letter, without any inter-party sniping or propaganda, i.e. a genuine attempt to find some sense, I sat up. Most Middle Eastern dictators universally rule with a vicious mix of coercion, beheadings and terror, humiliation and horrific wholesale murder. Such is the stalemate in Syria, where if the West was to send troops in, they could be several steps nearer to a large-scale war, killing millions. Do nothing, then each month, just thousands of innocent civilians would die from barrel bombs and chemical attacks. Sadly, the fewer number of potential deaths dictate the least harmful course, truly heartbreaking and frustrating. Then hope came in an unlikely form of Donald J. Trump, a man whom most people, as I do, view as loathsome, arrogant, ignorant, corrupt, dangerous, and a total disgrace. He is also, fortuitously, an unpleasant bully, wielding enormous power with his alliance, which his alliance has used in quite brilliant ways. They pre-warned Syria and Russia, swept in, destroyed military equipment only and retreated without a single casualty, thus preempting allegations of civilian atrocities, attempting regime change or full-scale occupation. The attack faded from news programmes in just 4 days. Appropriate and effective actions at last. To those who churlishly point out that one raid alone won't stop the carnage, they are right. But a few more such raids destroying military aircraft costing millions will eventually take effect and hopefully bring Assad to his knees. Evil men change their ways, but not because they see the light, but because they feel the heat. Those puzzled by Russia's relatively muted defence of Syria need to be comforted that Russia is not at all sympathetic of Assad and has no wish at all to go to war for him. Russia is only there because of its vitally strategic and fast-expanding deep-water port of Tartus on the Syrian coast, the only Russian seaport on the world outside of Russia.
Rethink needed at Lynn Bottom Tip from Sarah McCarthy Fry in Shanklin. The summer opening hours, which turned out to be no different from the winter opening hours at Lynn Bottom Tip, are a joke, except it isn't funny. The traffic queues are horrendous, particularly at the weekends. People are ignoring the signs not to queue up on the highway, but what are they supposed to do? If someone had driven from the other side of the island, they are hardly likely to drive all the way home again. Surely somebody at the Isle of Wight Council realised in the summer the footfall would increase. Surely somebody at the Isle of Wight Council realised that 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. excludes anyone who works a normal day from going to the tip during the week, putting more pressure on the weekends. Why do we need a greeter at the entrance to tell us which bin to put our rubbish in, but there is no one directing cars to empty spaces, which aren't visible till you get further round the route leading to longer waiting times? While in the short term reducing the summer opening hours may have seemed a painless way to save money, in the long term it can only lead to increased fly tipping and the risk of a major road traffic accident. This needs a rethink now.
This is a letter from Alan Blackburn in Cowes. Plan anomaly. Talk about one rule for one but not for the others. Regard the extension plan submitted by Mole's Store in the county press of the 20th of April. One of the reasons given to turn it down was that it would encourage people to use their cars, as they do now. So what about SCL plans for the Newport football ground out in the countryside, or do they think people will walk to there? And what about their idea to have a retail park at the existing ground so no one would use their cars for that either? Is it a case of who, not what, you know? I have no connection with any way with moles.
Sandown Town meeting earlier, from Bob Blizzard in Sandown. Sandown's annual town meeting, originally scheduled earlier this month, will now take place at the Broadway Centre on Monday, April the 30th. Nothing exceptional about this, you may think, until you note the start time is 6 p.m, the earliest allowed by law, and not 7 p.m, which has been the norm for many years. No effort appears to have been made to highlight the earlier start time. No consideration has been given to the fact many working people will find it difficult to make the 6 p.m. start. I emailed the Mayor, Councillor Raj Patel, to query the reason for the earlier start time, and in keeping with his previous practice, I have not had the courtesy of a reply. The agenda is the shortest possible, with little opportunity for public participation in what is the public's meeting. Items I submitted for inclusion on the agenda some weeks ago have not been included, and I have been given no reason for this. The town meeting is now to be followed by a rearranged council meeting at 7 p.m, and I suspect the Mayor will seek to close the town meeting by then. I do wonder if the earlier start time has more to do with trying to minimise the public attendance, given that at the extraordinary town meeting held on March the 9th, the best attended ever, Councillor Patel and a number of his colleagues suffered the embarrassment of an overwhelming vote of no confidence. I do hope that despite the earlier start time, Sandown residents will turn up to the town meeting and give their views. They will at least be able to see inside the new Broadway Centre and come to a view as to how well the 74% increase in their council tax precept has been spent.
Letter from John Wilmot and Gurnard. Protect Newtown Nature Reserve before it's too late. I am writing in response to last week's letters concerning Newtown National Nature Reserve. As James Allway rightly says, it has been my privilege to enjoy and be involved with the recordings of bird numbers at Newtown since the early 1950s. At this time, numbers of breeding waders, namely oystercatchers, ringed plover, lapwings and redshank, were fairly well represented. With the threat of a nuclear power station being built at Hampstead in 1957, a group of dedicated island naturalists, one being Bill Shepherd, who many readers will know, opposed this proposal. They were successful, and in 1966 the Newtown Local Nature Reserve was born, overseen by the Isle of Wight Council, the National Trust and the War Department, who were all involved landowners, together with various others forming the Consultative Committee. In 1995, Newtown Local Nature Reserve was declared Newtown National Nature Reserve, I believe partly for its added protection. The reserve is now run jointly by the National Trust and Natural England. However, the management plan prepared by Jonathan Cox for the National Trust continued the emphasis on protection of the numbers of breeding waders mentioned above and, in particular, the relative solitude that Newtown offered, and this should be maintained. Sadly, these numbers have diminished considerably. As far as blame is concerned, it must be pointed out that nationally numbers of these breeding waders are diminishing. However, it is now even more important, and has been for many years, these birds remain at Newtown to breed and be granted extra protection and extra provision of suitable breeding habitat where possible. In particular, visiting canoeists and paddleboarders really should not be encouraged, and if, as is their right, they do visit, then signate explaining areas to avoid reducing possible disturbance to breeding birds must be provided. This applies to walkers and walkers with dogs too. This cannot be achieved if the National Trust encourages more and more people to visit a reserve that is already at its breaking point. The proposed changes underway at the visitor centre would not sway the average casual visitor in their choice to visit the new town anyway. So please, I urge the National Trust and Natural England to wake up and attack the features that really matter in a nature reserve.
Waste collection from Alan Matthews, Newport. Spring finally arrived for me at the weekend. I got my grass cut and some weeds removed, and I managed to fill one extortionately priced waste bag. I then went onto the Isle of Wight Council website to book a collection. However, I now find you can no longer book an ad hoc collection. You now have to get a subscription for 12 months for a collection every 2 weeks. The website told me to use my expensive bags by the end of 2017. That tells you how long it is since I last had a collection. I think over the past couple of years I have had only 5 to 6 collections. Why do people who don't use this service very often have to pay for something they will hardly use? Surely there is some way the council can do a one-off collection, even if they charge a small fee. I don't drive, therefore I can't get to the tip. I don't think the bus company would be happy for me to take it by bus. I wonder how many people have actually subscribed to this service.
This letter from Ron Flowers in Freshwater. Chain reaction. Regarding the ongoing debacle of the non-floating Mac Floaty, I thought it must surely be April the 1st when I read that the bridge was withdrawn for maintenance work on the navigation system. What? To follow a chain over the River Medina? Is the Isle of Wight Council employing someone to dream up these never-ending maintenance excuses?
Did you know my parents? From Richard Butler, 8 Furnace Way, Uckfield, East Sussex. I am writing about my mother, Florence Downer. She grew up in Brightstone and joined the Women's Land Army in 1939, following which she was stationed on the island. I know she worked for Jack Carver as a land girl at Wolverton Manor, but was billeted at Chine Farm, Atherfield. To the best of my knowledge, Jack Carver was possibly John Petrie Carver of Wolverton, but I haven't been able to verify that detail. Can anyone confirm the information about Jack Carver, and did anyone else know Florence Downer at that time? Secondly, my father, Ronald Dick Butler, was with the Royal Fusiliers and must have been stationed on the island at some stage, because he met my mother there, although they were later married in East Sussex. Did anyone know him during the war years on the island? I should perhaps add my parents returned to live on the island in 1954-5, having emigrated to Australia after the war. My mother worked at various locations, including Blackgang Chine, Atherfield Bay Holiday Camp and local farms. My father also worked at the holiday camp, Shorewell Plant Hire, and helped construct the rocket engine testing facility near the Needles Battery. I grew up on the island and went to Shorewell School, followed by Ventnor and Carisbrooke.
And now from this week's County Press, looking back. First of all, 100 years ago, April the 27th, 1918. Several island men took part in the heroic and successful naval raid on Zeebrugge and Ostend. Commander A.F.B. Carpenter of Cowes was promoted to captain in recognition of his services in command of the HMS Vindictive. And Princess Helena Victoria visited Parkhurst and Sandown for a ceremony held by the YMCA. The leader of the hut said Princess Helena had taken an interest in the YMCA since the beginning of the war and thanked her for her continuous support.
75 years ago, April the 24th, 1943. The annual St George's Day Church Parade of the North Wight Boy Scouts Association was held in St Mary's Church. More than 200 Scouts, Cubs, Rovers, Guides, Rangers and Scouters attended, and the lessons were read by young Scout members. The district commissioner addressed the scouts and cubs, congratulating them on the day's success. A Cowes resident was charged under the food regulations for buying more eggs than was allowed. Police officers found a large amount of rationed food in the boot of his car, including veal, a basket full of eggs, and a large lump of butter. It came to light he had not purchased the food in the legitimate way.
50 years ago, April the 20th, 1968, a training exercise took place on the island where enemy agents were dropped at Sandown Airport to try to disappear for 24 hours. Police were informed and attempted to capture the invaders. They rallied the support of civilians who came out and gave information of the movement of the enemy. And a sea defence scheme was approved that allowed Ventnor seafront to be extended for nearly half a mile. A total of £128,000 was used to complete the work between the Eastern Esplanade and Wheelers Bay. It provided coast defences and a fine new esplanade.
25 years ago, April the 23rd, 1993. 3 Yarmouth hotel employees and 2 children were rescued by Yarmouth lifeboat after being thrown into flowing currents, capsizing their open fishing boat. Vessels responded by picking up survivors, and all 5 were taken to St Mary's Hospital. A Ventnor couple were reunited with a German woman they last saw as a child 38 years before. Mr and Mrs Sofa cared for Monica Allert in 1955 after her father had been captured by the Nazis, and Monica was left with no official citizenship. Monica returned to the island and found the couple with the help of the Tourist Information Centre and Ventnor pub Mill Bay.
And finally, looking back from 10 years ago, April the 25th, 2008, Fishbourne residents objected to Wight Link's multi-million-pound expansion plans, complaining of extra noise and traffic and stating the company's plans were a huge departure from the original proposals. Councillor Ron Cadwell said, "Their own statement is contradicting what they told us only a year ago." But Councillor Ivan Bulwer warned, "They want to try to work with the community, so be careful not to knock everything." And police arrested a man under the Fraud Act due to his suspicious company that was failing to comply with trading standards. Several people complained about substandard work after company targeted island homes in a cold calling campaign, posting leaflets and knocking on the doors of elderly people. Homeowners were charged up to £13,000 for the poor work.
This is Wight Memories and a lasting tribute to bravery of lifeboatmen by Donna Newham. The island's nautical heritage is felt strongly in our churches. In the cemetery of Christchurch, Sandown, is a grave that holds the remains of 7 sailors from the training ship HMS Eurydice, which sank in Sandown Bay on March the 24th, 1878, with a loss of 483 lives. There also stands a solitary stone from the First World War, which is dedicated to an unknown Royal Navy sailor. The churchyard of St Andrew Chale has several graves of those who perished at sea, most notably those from the Clarendon, which sank in 1836 with a large loss of life. There is even the grave of a smuggler at the Church of the Holy Cross in Binstead. But by far the most notable memories are in the Church of St Mary the Virgin in Brooke. They are not for people who were lost at sea, but rather for those who risked their lives and continue to do so to save others who are in danger on the sea, the lifeboatmen. St Mary stands a fair distance from Brooke village on a small hill with commanding views towards the coastline. Perhaps this was the reason for its slightly odd site, as it is away from the village itself. For 700 years a medieval church stood on the site, but a fire in 1862, thought to have been started in the newly installed wooden ceiling, destroyed most of the original building. Victorian builders created a new church, constructed in the medieval style, using as much of the original church as had been saved, creating the beautiful structure that is seen today. A 13th century door and lion sculpture, as well as the 14th century west window, were rescued from the blaze. The church registers, dating back to 1653, were also rescued, and a board listing the names of the rectors going back to 1297 is on show. A memorial to the men who died in the First World War shows in the dedication of the east window. The fine pulpit is of carved stone, with carvings of Christ and the four apostles. There is also a marble font in an unusual trefoil shape. It is the west wall of the new church building that holds the painted boards listing the brave deeds of the lifeboatmen from Brooke, who between 1866 and 1936 saved 263 lives. One rescue was so memorial it received royal recognition from Queen Victoria, the SS Ida. Over the course of 2 days, the crews from Brooke, Atherfield and Bembridge attempted to rescue the crew and passengers from the stricken boat. So astounding was the courage and determination of the lifeboatmen, the rescue became big news around the world. Each coxswain received a gold watch from the German Emperor Wilhelm II, as well as medals from the RNLI. It also became the last rescue made by the Brooke coxswain John Hayter, who retired after 32 years' service and was the most decorated lifeboatman in the island's history. Under his command, the Brooke lifeboat crew rescued more than 222 lives. A plaque bearing the appreciation of Queen Victoria for the courageous rescue and gallantry of the 3 crews shows how widely this feat was recognised. Most churches have memorials dedicated to those who have enough money for a lasting reminder, and so it is good to see that amongst the memorials to lords, soldiers and vicars, there is also a place to remember the courage, selflessness and brave deeds of the Back of the Wight lifeboat crews.
My view, and this is Malcolm Mimes' comment. We won't get fooled again. Well, I won't. Unless I've been taken in by an elaborate April Fool's joke, I fear there is something afoot in the quiet villages of Wootton Bridge, Haven Street and Binstead, with an American at the forefront of it all. Let me explain. On a visit at the beginning of this month to my parents' house in a sleepy pocket of Wootton, I happened to pick up a free pamphlet that had been delivered called The Bridge. Now, before you let your minds get too carried away, I should explain that this article had nothing whatsoever to do with Donald Trump's building a fixed link over the Solent, and you need not fear the people in the rural villages of the northeast side of the island are secretly starting the development of a bridge down on Woodside Beach, which none of us know about. The Bridge is the monthly magazine of the Wootton Church parish and has been going on for many years as I can remember. I must state at this point I think it is a great little publication, and those involved in producing it and distributing it should be very proud of their work in the community. But here is my concern. The April edition of The Bridge features a front page article by the local vicar, the Reverend Veronica Brown, an American who I'm reliably informed is a very nice lady. This front page article is, unsurprisingly, about Easter, but rather than just write about the Christian beliefs of the Easter period, the Reverend Brown has informed the people of Wootton. The real reason we think about the new life at Easter is because Jesus, who was stripped of all dignity, put to a shameful death on the cross, and buried in a borrowed tomb, rose from the dead. This is not just a wonderful story, it's an historical fact. The exact same article was also published on the website holycrossbinstead.org.uk, which is a website for the parishioners of Binstead and Haven Street. In the last two words of the quote, it's the last two words of the quote that bother me. Historical fact. I have no problem whatsoever with the Reverend Brown, or any other Christian for that matter, having a belief that there was once a guy from the Middle East called Jesus who died and then came alive again. Not to state that this is a historical fact is simply wrong. But to state this as a historical fact is simply wrong. I simply have no problem with those who believe the earth is flat, that global warming is a myth, or that Harry Redknapp is the greatest football manager never to have managed England. But again, I would have a problem if anyone tried to tell others any of the aforementioned were facts. And while on the subject of April Fools, I also read at the beginning of this month that David, the destroyer Pew, has returned to the Isle of Wight politics. Having wrecked our schools, Pew's return to politics as the chair of the Isle of Wight Conservatives has to be a joke, but it's a joke that many won't find funny. Pew has stated his role is simply to support MP Captain Bob and Council Leader Dave. Not that one, Stuart, but I'm not going to be fooled. It is blatantly obvious, with the island being split into two for the next general election in 2022. The destroyer is being lined up to be the Tory candidate for Isle of Wight East. He will no doubt spend the next 4 years trying to make amends for his previous failings in the hope by 2022 the public will have forgiven him. Remember where you read this first, and also remember the words of the Who. We won't get fooled again.
And this is the view of Rebecca Roncoroni. A dog is for life, so think carefully. April is National Pet Month, and last week's County Press had a great feature, All Creatures, which highlighted the fantastic work of the charities Animals at Home and Friends of the Animals. Coincidentally, I had the following conversation via email with a close friend, let's call her Jess. She is a single mum with 2 teenage boys, and like all in her situation, has to juggle work, running a home and being a sole parent. Jess said, I'm looking into getting a puppy at the beginning of August. B, aged 14, is desperate to have, train and exercise a dog, and feels he's learnt from the mistakes with Eddie, a dog they'd fostered for a few weeks but it didn't work out. I'm going back and forth in my head and decided I'll almost certainly go for it, but I'm really worried about the tie. I want B to have a focus and a reason to stop gaming. All his mates are online, so he says there's no one to meet up with and he feels like he really needs a purpose. I said, a dog is a massive commitment in terms of training, exercise and their need for company. Realistically, if you look at the long term, it's highly likely that within 5 years both your boys will either be at university or finished and embarking on new lives. Then you get the dog pretty much on your own for the rest of its life. The 2 dogs I've owned lived to 16 and 19 years old. Dogs have to be loved deeply and to the point where you have to gladly sacrifice a lot. Without that love and gladness in your heart, you will end up resenting the dog for the ties, the hair, the demands, the cost. B may very well yearn for a dog, but the reality is, Jess, you will end up doing the majority of its care. If you have doubts, don't do it. Apart from everything else, it's unfair on the dog. Jess said that's exactly what I think. I've been trying to justify getting a pup. Yesterday, B got me at a really low point and I said we'd go and look at some puppies that he'd found online. I then had a sleepless night stressing about it and had to tell him it was the wrong time right now. He was inconsolable. I was an idiot to cave in, but I was stressed and ended up agreeing for August. I said, OK, I get the fact that as a lovely mum you don't want B to be disappointed. As mums we want to do whatever is in our power to make it better. However, although a dog might work out in the short term, in the long term it could cause a lot more problems than it solves. You can't sacrifice the next 15 odd years of your life to caring for a dog in order to temporarily satisfy B desires. He will be leaving within a few years and you have to think about you in this. B has to accept that much as you love him and would willingly give him your organs, you are the one that carries all the responsibility for everything in your home, as well as for them, and a job, and you have limits. You know your instincts, go with them. Jess said, I've just read B most of your responses here, and he's had to agree. Me, brilliant. Has he thought of offering dog walking? People pay quite well. Jess, yes, but he says that's the horrible bit apart from the money. Me, walking is supposed to be a highlight. To conclude, the only reason to get a dog, or indeed any pet, is that you want one and are happy to care for it. Too many dogs are ending up in rescue centres as loving parents have not thought seriously through their responsibility and hard work involved in being a dog owner. Dogs make great pets, but they need and deserve great owners who truly want them.
This from the business section of the County Press. New driving service launches on the island, by Laurie Little. A new community driving service has been launched on the island. Driving Miss Daisy provides companion driving services for the elderly, children, disabled and anyone who is unable to drive. It has started in Cowes, Newport and Ryde. The Isle of Wight branch will be run by island residents and business partners Graham Tooton and Mo Luff. All vehicles are adapted to accommodate wheelchairs, folding mobility scooters and pushchairs. The company's headquarters are in Port Solent, and Driving Miss Daisy's UK fleet of specialist vehicles are adorned with the brand's Daisy symbol. The drivers are affectionately known as Daisies. The Isle of Wight branch will be based in Cowes, where one of the Daisy drivers, Miss Mo Luff, has lived for 46 years. Mo said, I've worked in mental health and with dementia patients for over 16 years. I currently work in the Shackleton ward at St Mary's Hospital, and I believe my training will prove invaluable and be of comfort to people using our community service. The company has given 5 reasons why people should use the service. Independence. No need to rely on friends and family to take you out and about. Driving Miss Daisy can take you wherever you need to go, such as medical appointments, shopping, visiting friends. Safe and secure. All drivers are police checked and hold current first aid training certificates. Each driver is undergoing Alzheimer, dementia awareness courses. Reliable. It is a pre-booked service with confirmed pickup times. They will always call if they are held up. The new cars are reliable and maintained to the highest standards. Friendly and personal. The drivers choose the business because they enjoy being around people. Regular customers are assured by knowing who will be driving. And cost-effective, competitively priced and can pre-quote. There is a loyalty card reward system. Driving Miss Daisy is the brainchild of Canadian entrepreneur Bev Haliski, who was inspired by the 1989 film of the same name. For more information, visit drivingmissdaisy.co.uk.
Employable Me Conference. Hundreds of students from across the island attended Employable Me, a conference to teach which skills are most valued by employers. Held at Cowes Enterprise College, 8 free workshops were offered to Year 10 students. Each 20-minute session gave students a practical taster of life in the workplace. The sessions covered skills such as creative problem solving, having a good work ethic, communicating effectively, and teamwork. The event was planned by a partnership of schools and was led and supported by local employers, including Wight Link, the Isle of Wight Council, and Wight Fibre. Sovereign Communities Officer Lee Hampton delivered a workshop on verbal communication. She drew on her background in exam preparation to give advice on pitching, holding audience attention, and creating a lasting impression. Solent LEP Enterprise Coordinator Jade Fuller said, "It is so important for students to have meaningful encounters with employers. Events such as Employable Me provide young people with practical examples of how the skills they are developing in school are relevant in a whole range of careers, and we hope that they now feel confident in recognising when they are using them.
Retired police officers offer services. Residents and businesses can now ask retired police officers to help with indoor and outdoor maintenance jobs, thanks to an organisation called Trust in Blue. Police officers typically retire after 30 years' service, and many want to continue playing an active role in their local communities. Also, Trust in Blue members are required to prove their skills and qualifications before joining, and are all interviewed by the CRB and are CRB checked. Managing Director Nick Order-Powlett said he hoped the company's unique and rigorous selection process would bring security and peace of mind to people. He said, "Our vetting process is second to none. All our handymen are friendly, retired police officers with many years working in the local area under their belts. They understand the people's concerns and fears better than anyone else, and they genuinely care." Due to demand for this service, the organisation is currently seeking applications from retired police officers. For further information, visit www.trustinblue.com/careers.
Moving on to what's on. This is Action on Hearing Loss is at East Cowes Medical Centre, Church Path, East Cowes, between 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. on Monday. Come along for advice, batteries, cleaning and retuning of NHS hearing aids. No appointment necessary, and details on 529533.
Celebrate Royal Wedding on Quay at Riverfest by Emily Pearce. From pirates and princesses to dancers and drummers, there will be plenty of family entertainment at this year's Riverfest. The annual event, organised by the Island's Footprint Trust charity and held at Newport Quay, will take place on the Royal Wedding Day, Saturday, May the 19th. Don't worry about missing out on the wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, though, as the ceremony will be shown on a big screen at the Riverside Centre. Pirate Captain Nash will be talking about life on the high seas during Georgian times, sharing sword-fighting tips and revealing the gory truth about surgery aboard a ship. And there will be performances by the Vectis Course of Drums, PJ's Theatre School, LVB Dance and Kerry Irish dancers, plus the appearance by a very special Enchanted Isle princess. Local food, drink and crafts will be available to buy from the island businesses and charities, and there will be displays and demonstrations by the RBL riders and Wight Link warriors. The 1936 RAF High-Speed Launch 102, which has been restored to a wartime condition, will be brought over from Portsmouth Naval Base. Riverfest celebrations the island's watercourses, particularly the 5 flowing through Newport, and children will also be able to paddle a canoe and enjoy the funfair.
Expect bunting, delicious cakes and family activities at the Wight Royal Wedding Tea Party on Saturday, May the 12th, at Striped Ventnor, the new bar diner at 2 High Street, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Proceeds to Wessex Cancer Trust, Isle of Wight. Book tickets through Wessex Cancer Trust, Isle of Wight, Facebook, or ring 0799 5625 621.
Free Family Fun Day at Urban Saints Centre. Urban Saints Westbrook Centre will open to the public for a day filled with free family fun on Saturday, May the 12th. The Residential Activity Centre in Seaview will be offering a whole range of free activity taster sessions or demonstrations, including free climbing, archery, bushcraft and laser tag. There will also be inflatables to clamber on, and the less adventurous can explore the 18 acres of park and woodland or look around Westbrook House. Delicious homemade refreshments will be available, and all these great treats and activities, including parking, are completely free. The centre, which describes itself as the Isle of Wight's best-kept secret, has been hosting school and youth groups for 70 years and is looking to offer activities ranging from laser tag to tree climbing to day visitors. It boasts accommodation for up to 110 people, as well as additional facilities for camping. The site even has a covered, heated swimming pool, which is available for private hire. All activities featured at the open day are available to book throughout the year, with meeting and social spaces available too. This makes Urban Saints Westbrook the perfect place for your next birthday party, team building day, training event or meeting. Urban Saints Westbrook is a part of the Urban Saints movement, helping to support youth and children's groups across the island and the UK mainland. For details of this open day or what's available for day visitors and residential guests, call the team on 811 118.
A modern jazz outfit from Wales is making its first visit to the island in May. The Dave Jones Quartet are set to appear at the Apollo Theatre, Newport, as guests of Newport Jazz Club on Sunday, May the 20th. The concert takes place between 3 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. and features Dave Jones on piano, Dave Waghorn on sax and flute, Ashley Long on bass and Andy Haig on drums. They are a very successful quartet and recently appeared on BBC Three with some of their numbers from the hugely popular album Keynotes. Tickets can be reserved by emailing GERIVIC29@hotmail.co.uk or on the door if available.
Well, that's all for today, so it's goodbye from Leicester.
And goodbye from Den.
Our island, our Vectis Radio, FM 104.6.
With me, Kelvin.
And me, Maggie.
And we've got our next selection of guests.
We certainly have. We have the lovely Chris and the lovely Michelle from Sight for Wight for the Insight for Wight section.
Yeah, good afternoon.
See how we did that?
Good afternoon.
Yes, I think I have to get you both a little closer to that microphone just to be very friendly for a little bit.
How's that?
So, Sight for Wight, the premier Isle of Wight society or charity for people with sight impairment.
Yes, that's correct.
And you're based at Millbrook House in Carisbrooke. I know, because I've been there on numerous occasions.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
let's just bring that microphone
regular.
round towards you a bit. So.
You're an absolute regular, both of you actually, regulars, and you will support us, which is always very much appreciated. And actually, you've got something coming up on Friday.
We have got our quiz coming up on Friday for the Vectis Radio fundraising appeal,
yes.
And you're going to be there.
I'm going to be there, yes.
And you're probably going to get a special meal again, aren't you?
I'm hoping for my usual special meal.
That's the only reason he comes to get special treatment.
Yes, and it comes out to me. I don't.
I know
have to
everyone
go
else
for
has
it.
to queue up, and you get yours dropped on the table in front of you.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. So. We had an event last Thursday.
Yes, it was here at the Riverside.
Here at the Riverside Centre with Bob and Carol Bridgestock. And how did that go?
It went really, really well, actually. Myself and Michelle went along. We were selling the tickets and doing the general running around, weren't we, Michelle? And we actually raised approximately £350.
Oh, that's brilliant!
So we'd like to thank everyone that came along, including yourselves, for helping with the technical side. Kelvin, thank you very much.
No problem.
And it was really good. Bob and Carol were their usual effervescent selves.
Yes, barely get a word out of them. For several hours.
You can't get a word out, Bob. No.
So yeah, we were very, very pleased with the event, and the venue was really good too.
Yes, it was. The venue was very good indeed.
Yeah.
So, what is it you come to talk about today?
Well, primarily, we'd like to talk about volunteers, and what you can get from it. So I'm actually going to hand you over to Michelle.
Yeah.
Who's going to elaborate. Michelle's our volunteer manager.
I was going to say, is that she got the title that covers that particular patch?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Volunteer manager. Good afternoon, Michelle.
Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm the volunteer manager for Sight for Wight. I've been with the society now for about 2.5 years. We've got 85 active volunteers who support the society in many roles, and we've got vacancies in many areas.
Okay. So, volunteers, is it a commitment to do a certain amount of time, or is it you just like to volunteer and turn when you can? What kind of things are we talking about
It's extremely flexible in regard to the time commitment a volunteer is able to give. We have some volunteers who commit an hour a week. We have some volunteers who commit 10 hours plus a week. Some that commit a couple of times a month. So it's entirely, up to the volunteer what they're able to commit to. And we've always got vacancies that we can fit in with, the availability.
So what sort of vacancies do you have currently?
We have vacancies for drivers for our minibus.
All right.
And also escorts on our minibus. Wherever possible, we always try to have an escort to go out on the minibus with the driver to support the visually impaired members, to help them to and from their homes and safely on and off the bus.
Righto. So if I wanted to volunteer to be a driver, apart from obviously having a driving licence, is there anything else I would need?
You'd obviously have to have a clean driving licence, and it's dependent on age that fits in with the DVLA.
Oh, right.
So there's a certain criteria, but it's pretty straightforward. You'd have to go out on the minibus for a trial with one of our experienced drivers. We take it from there, really.
But you wouldn't have to have an HGV licence or anything like that?
No, it's not
or
necessary.
A public service licence?
No, it's not necessary. 11-seater minibus and under, it's not necessary to have an HGV licence.
I just wondered.
No, that's excellent. So, and what do people get from volunteering? I mean, I know they don't get paid because it's a volunteer post, but what do they get personally from being a volunteer?
Well, many people get many different, personal rewards for volunteering. Some of them, the majority of our volunteers often come to join us because they want to give something back to the community, and often that they've had connections with people themselves who have had sight impairment. So that's a big part of the volunteering. They want to give something back. I forgot to mention also that we've got vacancies at our Dress for Less dress agency in Newport. Yes, yeah.
I mean, we have spoken about Dress for Less before, but it's an excellent money-raising idea, isn't it?
It is. And our lead manager, volunteer manager, Julie, is actually retiring and leaving us, sadly, this weekend, but we wish her all the best for her retirement. But that has created some vacancies within the shop, and we're keen to recruit new volunteers to support the shop.
Okay. So would you be looking for somebody who had a bit of retail experience, or doesn't it matter?
I mean, ideally, that would be a plus, but it's not necessary. We are recruiting for some volunteer retail managers, so if they have got experience in retail, that would be really helpful, because as a manager, there's a sort of lead taking role with that, so it would be beneficial to have that type of experience. But anybody who's got a flair or is interested in fashion, please come along and see us. Pop into the shop and see our new manager.
Yeah.
The shop is the shop is in Newport, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's virtually opposite Man in the Moon.
Yes.
Now.
Yes.
Yeah, we've moved across the road.
Moved across the road to the new big shop, and it's opposite Moonspoons.
Yes,
Moonspoons. That's fine. Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take a break, and we'll come back after some music with a bit more stuff about volunteering. We still have Chris and Michelle here, don't we?
We do.
From Sight for Wight, the Insight for Wight section of the show. And we were talking earlier about volunteering, and you're going to talk about ambassadors now, is it?
Yes, we've created a new volunteer role to help promote the society, and looking at the way forward for Sight for Wight. We're particularly keen to recruit younger volunteers as well, and the vacancies that we've got are for event stewards and ambassadors, and that is for volunteers to go out to island events across the summer period mainly, and promote the society at our stand at each event. So
that sounds like a good
that's
idea.
a new role that's been created.
Events can be quite fun, can't they? Even sort of a standard exhibition or whatever, it can be quite fun. What events have you got coming up then?
Well, we've got some good ones this year. I mean, we're doing our traditional events, but we've got some new ones.
Okay.
Well, I guess you could say the Murder Behind the Scenes was one of our an event, and
yes,
we quite enjoy doing that kind of thing. The traditional stuff is also great, but I think it's nice to sort of branch out and do something a little bit different.
Yes.
To evolve a bit.
Yes, to evolve a little bit. So we're doing the next one we've got coming up is Riverfest.
Oh yes,
That's on the 19th of May, which I think most people know what that's all
it's
about.
down there.
It is just down there.
Yeah, it's down there. Pointing on the radio.
That looks
so
good
well.
on the radio.
Yeah.
Does that work?
It's literally it's along the eastern side of the river. Mostly round Newport, around the Riverside Centre, just along the river from there. Yes.
Yes.
So you're going to have a stand there.
We're going to have a stand
which
there.
is where your ambassadors would be.
Well, actually, for that, the ambassadors are going to be myself and Laura for that particular one. Then we've got Rhythm Tree.
Oh
Rhythm
yes.
Tree Festival.
Yes, just up the road from us. That one. Yes.
That's the 13th to the 15th of July. So we will have some ambassadors
at
that one.
Yes.
And then Pride, UK Pride.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, so
now that's going to be huge this year, isn't it?
They're expecting something like 30,000 people. So yeah, it is going to be huge. So in fact, myself and Michelle will be there with a few ambassadors.
Good.
Okay, yes.
A couple more new ones, if I can just mention them.
Of course, please do.
We're doing Jack Up the 80s in August, 11th
at Smallbrook.
Yeah, at Smallbrook, 11th and 12th of August.
Yeah.
And then the other new one we're doing is the Island Comic Con.
Oh yes.
Yes. Now where's that this year?
That's this year. It's going to be at Cowes Enterprise College.
Oh right, yes, because it was at the Yacht Haven last year, wasn't it?
I think it was Northwood House last year.
Yeah. But it's Cowes Enterprise College this year.
So you're going to be an ambassador there, Chris?
I'm going to be there for sure.
Yeah, but whether you're an ambassador or not is another matter.
Well, yes. You might not even recognise me at that one, to be fair. And that's the 20th of October through to the 21st of October.
So, and this is awareness raising and fundraising.
It is fundraising, awareness. We want to be promoting good site and signposting. We're there to help really anyone. So if anyone has a problem or would like to ask questions about site, then give us a call.
So how many ambassadors are you looking for ideally?
Ideally, we'd like to recruit, I would say probably about half a dozen new ambassadors. We've already got 3 new ones, I think, which we've welcomed to the team. So, to expand on that would be great because, it's about availability for the different
Because not
events.
one person can't get to all those events.
That's
probably.
right. That's right. So, and they're island-wide events that we've chosen to attend. So, yeah, we'd like some.
Being an ambassador is a big volunteer as well. You get something out of it for giving back to the community.
Yes, you do,
and potentially make some new friends and acquaintances and things.
Absolutely, like that. It's just it's a social interaction as well. So, it's good fun. We're a good team, and we're fun to be with and work alongside. So,
I'd say the number of times I've been to Millbrook House, the atmosphere feels quite friendly and welcoming.
Always very welcoming. Yes.
We try to make people feel welcome, and also with the ambassadors and with the events we're doing, we've also got some. I want to give our new sunglasses a bit of a plug.
Oh yes.
Yes. We tried those the other day. There's a little
show
photo.
this to the microphone.
So can you show that? We've got these really new, funky, trendy sunglasses, which we are selling at £3 for a pair, or 2 for £5.
That's an amazingly low price because they are very high spec, aren't they?
They are, no pun intended. See what you did.
No, I didn't even think about
did you?
High specification.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And the frames come in different colours.
We have blue, white. I'll start again. Blue, white, red, and black.
Okay, but they've got the lenses are UV and all the rest.
UV. Yeah. So 400. Yeah.
I don't know the details exactly, but I know they are
proper sunglasses.
Proper sunglasses, and they do. I've tried those. I've got a pair. They fit over my own glasses.
Yeah.
So
brilliant.
They don't actually get in the way because sometimes you have to have prescription sunglasses or none at all.
Yes.
But these actually fit over my prescription glasses, so that's fine.
Yeah.
So you can still see where you're going.
Well,
in theory.
In theory. I still bump into the furniture. And you do reward your volunteers, don't you? Because I don't see we've got this garishly coloured invitation.
Yes, we do.
For the 70s style volunteers party on the 7th of June at Millbrook House between 2:30 and 5:30. 70s style. So you're expecting people to dress up?
We would encourage our volunteers and guests to dress up because that makes it more fun. But
of course.
It's not optional.
It's not optional.
There's lots of ideas we can throw at you.
Yeah. So we were just discussing off air that rainbow tank tops, brown Dr. Martens.
Yes.
Other shoes are available. Flares, two-tone trousers.
Yes.
Yes, flares. Really, really big flares.
Really flappy flares.
Yes,
we're talking.
Flowers in your hair.
Yeah, that's kind of left over from the sort of early 70s into the 60s into the 70s was plenty of flowers, and that peculiar haircut that many men had with it, kind of long and thick hair that just bobbed,
Yes.
or the 70s moustache. But
Do you
that
mean
means
a mullet?
The droopy moustache.
No, the
yes.
mullet was more 80s.
That was
wasn't it?
80s, yeah, the moustache.
No, it was the droopy
Jason
moustache.
King.
Yeah, Jason King. Spot on, yes, Jason King, the gentleman detective. People out there going, who the...
What are they talking about?
But I say, volunteering is about giving your time, but you do recognise the value your volunteers give.
Absolutely. This is an annual event, and we all work hard to make it a success. And we're giving because we want to thank them so much for all the valuable work they do for us.
Okay, and we've still got Chris and Michelle here. We're just going to wrap up the last few bits of what you were talking about earlier on, if we can. So you're looking for volunteers?
We are looking for volunteers, whether that's in our Dress for Less shop, or whether you'd like to come and help with some escorting or minibus driving or ambassadors, then you can give us a call, ask to speak to Michelle. You can either call on 52205
52205, okay.
or you can email Michelle on volunteers at iwsb.org.uk.
Volunteers at iwsb.org.uk. If you fancy having a go at driving a minibus, what could be more fun?
Hey, yes, it's a good minibus.
It's a good minibus. Yes, I've seen it. It's a nice minibus, that one. Yeah, or if you are interested in, it's mostly clothing, isn't it, Dress for Less? So
it is. Ladies, yes.
Ladies' clothing at all. And doesn't mean you have to be a lady, because there are quite.
It's top end, highbrow stuff.
Highbrow stuff.
Yeah.
Go along again. Contact Michelle. Michelle at iwsb.org.uk, and that will get you there, won't it?
It certainly will.
It's a lovely atmosphere, very positive people over there at Millbrook House.
Oh, absolutely, yes, we're lovely. Yes, we are really nice people.
You are nice people, and they do a nice cup of tea.
They do.
Which is really, really important.
Well, they do a nice cup of coffee.
Well, for you, yes.
I don't like tea.
I know you don't like tea, but you go in there. I've been to some places, you have to sort of actually beg them for a cup of tea, but the second you get in the door at Millbrook
would you
House,
like a drink?
someone's asking if you want a cup of something, so you can't beat that, can you, for something?
We'd say we like to look after everyone, volunteers, staff, members, visitors.
Yeah, you do, and you do very well.
Thank you very much.
And you've got somewhere to park, which is also...
Yeah, we got good parking.
Yeah, it's not bad, as long as you're quite flexible, if I certainly mean, because you can, people don't mind being blocked in as long as you don't mind moving your vehicle to get them out and all sorts.
Exactly.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine, but you can get quite a few cars in there.
Yes.
And a minibus. Which
minibus.
has got its own turning space, I have to say.
Well, it would have to.
You have to. But yeah, so contact Michelle, volunteers at iwsb.org.uk, or give us a call. Give them a call on
52205.
52205. Ask for Michelle.
Yes.
If she's not there, I'm sure somebody will take her.
Yeah, I can always speak to people if.
Oh, yes, because you're in the same office.
We share an office.
Share an office.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Yeah.
So and under the guidance of Miriam, our CEO, we're going in a new direction. We're all really, really positive.
Yes.
And we've got our sort of 4 charity objectives. We are providing support and information, supporting services and activities, promoting well-being, and promoting avoidable sight loss.
Yeah,
okay. Excellent
brilliant.
stuff. Excellent stuff. And little powerhouse, your CEO, isn't she?
She is.
Oh, she is.
Yes. I met her a few times, and yes. A lovely lady, and knows exactly how she wants to get things done, so very good. And thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
And we'll have you again in a month's time, and you'll have some new topics in the Insight for Wight section of the Tuesday afternoon show.
Yes.
And we'll try and spread it into 1 hour chunk, I think, next time if we can.
Yes, because it's a nice regular slot.
Slot.
Vectis Radio, FM 104.6, for the people, by the people.
I'm here with Miriam Tong. We're at the Riverside Centre and we've just seen a wonderful film by the Bridgestocks. And all this is in aid of raising funds for the Isle of Wight Society for the Blind, which is now trading as Sight for Wight. And one of the things they've got new is sunglasses. Miriam, tell us all about those.
Well, we've decided that as some promotional material this year, we should have UV sunglasses.
Ooh.
Because they will link very much with one of our key messages that we're trying to promote, and that is preventing avoidable sight loss.
Right.
And one of the big concerns is that the danger from being overexposed to harmful UV radiation can cause longer term damage to sight. So to promote these fantastically retro-styled, hyper-glamorous glasses is something that we will be selling at all of our outreach events, including those tradition events like Haven Street and the Chale Show that we'll be attending this year, but also some of the newer events like the Ride Pride event, Rhythm Tree Festival.
Do you mean the UK Pride?
I do.
In Ride.
And we're also going to be at Jack Up the 80s.
Oh, yes.
So at all of the events that we're at, and of course we hope by the end of the month at our Dress for Less shop in Newport, we'll be selling these fantastic glasses, and for every pair sold, obviously a contribution is pure profit that will come to the charity.
So, if I wanted to buy a pair of glasses, are they vastly expensive?
No, they are absolute bargain buys. We're selling them at £3 a pair, or 2 pairs for a £5.
Wow.
Which is fantastic, and they are really good quality UV filter glasses, and because of the retro styling they suit men or women equally, and in fact look great on young people, children as well.
Oh wow. And do they come in a range of colours?
Yes, we've got 4 gorgeous colours. We have classic black, sparkling white, groovy red, and a very cool blue. So we've got something to appeal to everybody. And I think,
do you wear them yourself?
I do. I have one in every colour so that I colour coordinate my wardrobe now. Absolutely. I dress with my glasses for the day.
That's good then, isn't it?
It is.
So are all your staff buying them as well?
They are. In fact, we did a good trade tonight. We were delighted to have a good audience here to enjoy our patrons, Carol and Bob Bridgestock. And I'm pleased to say that most of the audience bought these fantastic sunglasses.
Indeed,
and agreed
I bought 2 pairs.
they look great and are a bargain buy.
And a pair for my hubby.
Fantastic.
So you will be sporting them.
Yes.
So anything else we need to know about the glasses?
No, I don't think so. And that we're looking forward to having the opportunity to meet and greet as many islanders as possible at all of the events we'll be at during the summer months. And of course, people can check on our website to see which events we'll be at.
And the website is?
And the website is www.iwsb.org.uk.
Brilliant. So if people want to call you up on the phone,
yes,
to order their glasses and see if you've got any in stock, what number do they call?
01983 52205.
Brilliant. And the website again?
Is www.iwsb.org.uk.
Brilliant. Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you so much.
This is the BBC.
This is In Touch, the magazine programme for people like me who are blind or partially sighted. I'm Peter Wight. Thanks for downloading this week's edition. Tonight, we'd like to start a couple of conversations. First, who cares for the carers? An estimated 50,000 visually impaired people are looking after someone else. And the things you didn't know you didn't know.
One morning I woke up and one of my eyes had failed quite miserably, and you realise then, I can't do the things that I used to be able to do, but where do I go to get the help that I need to be able to do or try and do the things I used to be able to do?
We'll be starting a list as part of a fond farewell. All will become clear later in the programme. But first, however capable we may think we are, blind and partially sighted people are often portrayed as in need of looking after. But a recent RNIB survey says, in fact, more than 50,000 of us are looking after someone else. The most obvious example, frequently featured on In Touch, is parents looking after children. But we're often the ones doing the caring for parents, older relatives, brothers or sisters. People like Jean McKegan. Now, she's been taking care of her father, George, full-time for a couple of years now. Well, she got in touch with the programme to find out how other people coped in this situation. This caught our attention, so reporter Tom Walker has been to see how Jean herself is coping.
Dad, this is Tom.
Yeah.
Tom has come from Radio 4 to have a chat with us.
You having a nice day?
Yeah. Well, Dad is 95 years old, and he was a little bit distant when it came to remembering things about 5-6 years ago, and they realised that he was actually in the process of being diagnosed having dementia. And now his memory is only seconds. So it's very difficult to leave him unsupervised. With regard to Dad's medication, I have been given the blister pack. When I open up the pack, on the cover it has all of Dad's medication, so if anything happened to me, if I had an accident or something, it's all listed here and someone could literally pick up the pack and know what to give Dad.
How's the medication organised?
The blister pack is arranged each day. You have a line with the morning, breakfast, lunch and dinner time pills. So you just go down the blister pack each day and start a new line.
And that's worked pretty well for you, hasn't it?
That's been absolutely marvellous. It has saved me about half an hour every day trying to sort out the medication from little boxes to just pressing a blister and that's it. I also have to deal with his personal hygiene. As far as showering is concerned, we have carers who come in to do that for me because that's a little bit more difficult and not the best thing to have to do with your own father. And the other things that he has to be supervised on is obviously his meals have to be prepared for him. He can't make a cup of tea or do anything in the kitchen because he wouldn't remember where things were. Okay, I'm in the kitchen now, so firstly I want the fridge where I keep my bread. I don't have to constantly run out to the shops every day.
Can you leave your dad if you do need to run out to the shops?
Not really, no. I make sure there's always someone here if I'm going out.
Your kitchen's very organised here.
Yes, has to be.
Like the rest of your life?
Yes, my whole life is now extremely well organised. Calling Thursday morning to let me know if Friday is okay.
That's the sound of the pen friend.
Well, what you have is you have a stubby shaped pen, and I use it in conjunction with my diary most of the time, which means that I can keep all the appointments up to date. So I'm into April, and I will have stickers on that page with all the appointments. Here we go. The sticker is empty, so this is the occupational therapist, and the appointment has been made for...
For you as a totally blind person, there must be certain activities that maybe you'd like to do with your dad, but you're unable to do.
Yes, there's lots of things I would like to do with him. I'd like to do crosswords with him, but that's not possible. I do have dominoes with tactile dots on them, so I can do that. However, it's difficult actually to find the time to concentrate on activities like that because he is very slow. And there are so many things to do around the house and dog to deal with, make sure she gets her exercise every day. It's just challenging.
So not only do you have to deal with your own challenges of being visually impaired or totally blind, but you also have to deal with the fact that your dad often forgets that you're totally blind as well.
He does. He forgets all the time because he will ask me to find something for him, or he'll say, what colour is this? And, just lots of questions that indicate he's totally forgotten that I can't see anything. Where's your walker? Did you take it over with you to the chair?
No, that's right in front of you.
Ah.
How do you monitor what he's doing? Because presumably you have to be pretty aware all the time of what he's up to.
Yes, it's just a case of listening. The whole time I'm listening to what's happening. Fortunately, my house is slightly open plan, so if I am upstairs and he's doing something downstairs that perhaps I could be concerned about, I can hear, and I will come downstairs and find out what's happening.
Did the authorities have any concerns about the fact that you are a totally blind carer?
Well, if they did, they didn't say too much about that.
Is that because you were probably saving them some money?
Possibly because I was coping as best I could. And yes, I didn't have to I did say several times that if I didn't have certain things, then Dad would have to actually be in a care home. Whereas if I had certain pieces of equipment, certain help, then I could care for him at home.
So being fairly assertive but also persuasive is always a good plan.
Definitely assertive, and also know what you need. If you come across something you think, oh, I wish I had something or other to help me out with this, then just ask and it might be found for you.
Now, when your dad moved in, you approached the local authority. What was their response?
Social services, their response was, we can't do anything for 3 months. I was very upset. And I did try the doctor, I tried everyone to try and get an assessment brought forward, but it wasn't possible. If you weren't really strong, you'd be inclined just to give up. And you would say, no, sorry, I can't cope. My relative has to go into a care home.
How could social services improve the service they provided you?
Well, they could certainly take into account everyone's individual situation and work according to that.
Have you come across other carers in a similar situation?
No, I haven't actually. No one. In fact, that's why I've telephoned In Touch to ask if anyone else in the same situation could share with me their experience and we could perhaps liaise with different problems we might have.
Jean McKagan. Well, it sounded to us as if Jean is doing pretty well already. But as she said, she'd very much like to know what tips others in a similar situation might have to pass on. We'll be giving you some details of how to do that at the end of the programme. But it was another conversation started by columnist Mike Lambert, which has also got listeners thinking. Mike described what he'd got out of an experience you might think would have little to offer someone who's blind, or anyone else for that matter, a huge whale sneezing in your face. In the event, dare I say, it was an eye-opener for Mike, and it prompted this from Dave Williams.
Why do so many of us, blind and partially sighted people, bother with traditionally visual pursuits? How do we shape our expectations about what's going to be possible? And can the risk of complete humiliation ever really be avoided? Last summer, I took my family to the Caribbean to witness a total solar eclipse. I've been fascinated by astronomy since I was a boy. The Italian astronomer Galileo famously lost his sight in later life, but continued to make important scientific contributions. As the day of the solar eclipse drew near, I felt increasingly self-conscious. Would the other eclipse watchers be pointing and exchanging a look? What on earth is that blind guy doing here? I realise now they were probably much more interested in enjoying their own holidays. As with many blind people, I do have a small amount of residual light perception, so I was hopeful that when the moon passed in front of the sun, I should be able to make out the sky darken. And I did, and I also felt the temperature drop. I heard the cheers of the other eclipse watchers, the enthusiastic descriptions of the changes in light as the shadow of the moon swept over us, and my sighted 9-year-old son's fear of the dark turned to awe as the eclipse unfolded. I treasure these shared experiences. Often the descriptions are natural, unforced, enthusiastic, emotional, and can be inadvertently inclusive. Being there, close to the excitement of others, brings an experience alive and makes it feel real. It's the difference between hearing that your team won or being at the match. For me, sometimes doing the really big things like moving house, organising a wedding or taking the family abroad can feel more manageable than getting across a busy main road, cooking a 3-course meal or choosing what to wear. People losing sight are often told to contact RNIB, make yourself known to your local voluntary association and register with the local sensory impairment team. These things are important steps on the rehabilitation journey, and they are. But when you're ready, also make contact with other blind people. We've got tried and tested tools and techniques that enable us to manage in all kinds of situations, and the chances are, whatever it is you want to do, there's probably a blind person somewhere who's at least tried it. As well as mobility, independent living skills and access to information, all of which are important, we need to be talking more about attitudinal barriers. The way some sighted people pull their little darlings back when the scary blind man comes near. The way some sighted people appear to lose the power of speech when I'm searching for a seat on the bus. Or the way even close relatives will sometimes say in slightly hushed tones, "He's doing really well, you know, with his eyes and everything. Oh, and his wife's the same." I'm blind, and I'm genuinely okay with that. The issue is that other people are often uncomfortable around blindness, and allaying those fears is tough. But we could do a lot worse than getting out there and showing that doing anything that is truly rewarding often involves an element of risk. It's okay that sighted people don't instantly understand how I live as a blind person, and if they don't deal with my blindness well on the first meeting, well, every day's a school day. And yes, it can be exhausting.
David Williams, and if you'd like to add to that or give your views, we'd certainly like to hear from you. And for reasons which will become clear, our own Cheryl Gabriel, who's been producing this programme for more than 20 years, that really is true, has chosen today to start an In Touch conversation of her own, prompted, I think, Cheryl, by a request that you got from a friend.
That's true, and that friend is sitting here with us now, Peter. Jane Moore. Hello. Jane. Jane has been recently diagnosed with macular degeneration, the same as me, although I've had mine a bit longer. And Jane, you contacted me for help.
I did.
Yeah, just explain, Jane, what you felt your situation was.
Well, I have had, and I still have, macular degeneration, but I'd been managing with it quite well until one morning I woke up and one of my eyes had failed quite miserably, and you realise then, oh, I can't do the things that I used to be able to do, but where do I go to get the help that I need to be able to do or try and do the things I used to be able to do? Fortunately, I have a Cheryl in my life who has helped me enormously by pointing me in the right direction with things that are available out there to help people like me.
So you put this, Cheryl, I think, all in one place, which was perhaps the key thing. Jane, you were getting stuff from all over the place, but
I was.
This was concentrated in one source.
It was, yes. And you really do need to have that because obviously it's difficult to read, it's difficult to receive letters, emails, etc., etc. So just having one source of information to help you makes a big difference.
So, Cheryl, what was on this list?
Well, things like the obvious, really. I mean, PIP.
Which is personal independence payment, and that's a benefit that people get to compensate them for the extra costs of disability.
Indeed. And then I put down the Partially Sighted Society, which was Anita Plant, and you went to see Anita, didn't you?
I did, and that was really worthwhile doing because I came away with some great kit that's specifically designed for me.
The Disabled Person's Rail Card, that was the next thing, which gives you amazing discount.
It does, and I've used it, so thank you for that.
That's all right. And then the Freedom Pass, that was there.
The Freedom Pass, I'm just in the process of applying for that, but it does make a difference in terms of travel.
And that's the thing about this. There are so many things. I immediately want to add things. Like, for example, yeah, well, that's fine for trains, but if bus travel is your thing, there are passes which give you free travel in your area. Varies from local authority to local authority, but that's the basic principle.
Mm-hmm. And then my favourite one is the theatre concessions, because not everybody knows about that, and obviously not everybody wants to go to the theatre, but if you do, you can ask to go on a theatre access list. So you contact the individual theatres and they'll put you on their list, and then you can ring up and book tickets, and basically you get a half price ticket because you get a free ticket for a companion.
If you're into sport, there are things like a lot of football clubs, for example, offer concessions. Typically you would have to pay, but a companion, they would go free. And I had the privilege of seeing my side stuffed for only £20 when it could have cost me 60.
Bargain. And also, Pete, just one other thing. Eleanor, the editor, mentioned that you can get a concession if you go to the zoo as well. So it's really just worth asking, if you've got the nerve, just ask anywhere that you're going, whether it's a gallery, an exhibition or wherever, and they'll probably do some sort of concessionary entry.
And you could go on adding to this ad infinitum, which in a way is what we want to do, isn't it really, Cheryl? Well, just explain your concept.
Well, when Jane responded to the email so positively and sent me this amazing bouquet of flowers, I thought to myself, this is important information, and maybe it would be useful for other people to have it in one place as well. So if we could possibly put the information on the website in the form of the email that people could download and have it if they want to, and also add to it if they have anything that's of use that could be included in the email for other listeners to share.
And for really to try and give them the same sort of help at an early stage that Jane got. That's really the idea behind it, isn't it?
It is, it is.
You've chosen today, because this is your last programme as producer, which I can't quite believe. It is more than 20 years. I can honestly say never a cross word in that time. A few bits of creative tension in terms of, as we decided how to do the programme, but it's been an absolute pleasure to do. What are you going to do with your Tuesdays?
Well, of course, I'll be listening to In Touch, Peter. But apart from that, I'll be spending more time with my camera.
Which is a great enthusiasm of yours.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a passion. So watch this space.
Well, hopefully there'll be lots more Jane Moores. Jane, thank you very much for coming
Thank
in.
you.
And very kind of you to send Cheryl a bouquet. I'll be expecting one after the programme. I should say, In Touch will go on somehow before. It will go on being listener-led. So if you've got anything to add to Cheryl's list, or you're a visually impaired carer, do get in touch with us. You can call our action line on 0800 044 044 for 24 hours after the programme. You've heard this before, I'm sure. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk, or you go to our website, from where you can also download tonight's programme. From me, Peter Wight, and for the last time, producer Cheryl Gabriel. Glad we didn't do the whole programme in synchronised speech. Goodbye.
Goodbye.